With millions of subcommunities on Reddit, it is an absolute treasure trove of data for anyone looking for consumer insights. You could be working in product development, market research, advertising, or even on startups and significantly benefit from the data. Practically every hobby, interest, psychographic profile, or group of people anyone you can think of can be found on there. Not only are people already organized into these highly specific niche groups, they are even organically already sharing and talking about their experience and use cases for new products. Today, I'm excited to present a new method to find relevant niche communities on Reddit. I'm going to share how the process works and my own research findings. By the end, you will also be able to generate a final spreadsheet that looks like this, which lists potential subreddits you could use while developing or promoting your own product. With that, let's get started. Modern product development is all about getting customer feedback and kickstarting a product customer feedback loop. However, in the beginning, it could be difficult to know a few critical things, like which segment of users would be most receptive to your product, how they would specifically use it, and who needs it the most and would even be willing to pay for it. While a mass market campaign like a billboard could work theoretically, it would cost a lot, since it's from an unrecognized brand without any particular audience in mind. It probably wouldn't work out. On the other hand, once you've found a potential niche audience, there's lots you can do, such as engaging with the community, conducting market research, getting feedback about your product or concept, running specific ads targeting them, and even creating highly specific content marketing. This would immediately let you know if your product resonates with them. And if it doesn't work out, you can always jump to another niche market segment and see how that goes. While brainstorming these kinds of specific niche audiences would have been tough in the past, and we would have been going in blind into all of these communities, now is an awesome time to live in because Reddit has already organized this information for us. This method uses free, publicly available Reddit data to find niche communities. It works by using simple SQL queries to look up your competitors' previous activity on the Reddit data and seeing which communities or subreddits talk the most about their products. If you've done SEO in the past, you'll recognize this as competitive backlink analysis. When it comes to materials, we'll use two Google Cloud Platform products to do this. For starters, the Reddit dataset is already publicly available on the Google Cloud Platform for free and is ready for analysis. Since we have the data ready to go, next we'll use Google Cloud's BigQuery to query the entire dataset directly and crunch our results. Finally, since the results are often so large, we'll export the results from BigQuery to BigTable so that we can eventually get them into a nice spreadsheet. Before we get started, please know that using these products can cost a lot of money, so please be careful and use it at your own risk. So, a simple walkthrough for us would be: first, manually previewing the Reddit dataset to understand what columns are in the SQL table, making sure we are selecting the right table and fields. Next, we would be writing our SQL code to find matching rows in the dataset. Then, using BigQuery, we would actually be running the operation on the entire Reddit dataset. And finally, previewing the results and exporting them to a spreadsheet using Google Cloud's BigTable. So the code I just used is available fully in the description below. These are very, very basic SQL query statements. You'll notice there are two beside each other, not just one. This is because the Reddit data is split into posts and comments found on the site. So you have to query both sections of the dataset and then combine them together later on. All this code is doing is just looking in the data for backlinks, which point to our competitors. I used it to look up Slack.com, Evernote, and Zapier websites, which I'm going to be talking more about later. However, you can put in whatever you like. You'll notice I'm selecting specific columns like subreddit, body, or domain, instead of all of the columns in the table. This is because you save money on Google BigQuery this way. It's selecting a subset of the total data. I also left a limit to 1,000 in the code as well. This is to save money while testing it out. When you're ready, you can remove that and get results from all of the rows. The subset of posts Reddit data goes through about 131 gigabytes in size worth of data, and the comments Reddit data subset is about 1 terabyte. Let's now take a look at the results. The first company I started with was Slack. If you don't know, Slack is a chat client used by companies to communicate. We can see immediately from the Reddit data that many cryptocurrency subreddits are linking to Slack. So, crypto fanatics could be a potential niche audience to investigate. I checked out a post and found that one user referred someone else to the existing Slack community for their subreddit. So the comment reads, "Connect with local buyers and sellers in Canada through our Slack channel," and then he links to the channel. Notice they are using Slack not necessarily as a chat app for the enterprise, but as a marketplace to organically connect buyers and sellers in their local area. In another example, users who like to play Pokemon Go were using Slack to share alerts for rare Pokemon. Again, it's not necessarily about live chat for the enterprise, which is what you would think Slack is about or being used for. In this example, they are actually using Slack to self-organize and crowdsource exclusive and time-sensitive information, which they all benefit from. It's interesting how people in this Pokemon Go niche are using a product like Slack, which was really meant for business use cases. In a slightly different example, we can see this user here explicitly recommended Slack because it has helped his advertising agency streamline their processes. I ran the same thing for Evernote and found so many interesting use cases. Evernote is a note-taking application which works on any of your devices. One interesting case I found was in a health-related audience niche. This user benefits from a note-taking application and would fall under a health-related audience segment. Here we can see he deals with ADD, or attention deficit disorder, and uses Evernote to remember things and cope with his or her psychological condition. Clearly, in their case, there's an intense need for a reliable note-taking service. Just putting this out there, do you think Evernote actively works to serve this audience's needs, or do you think they are being underserved at the moment? Finally, one other interesting one I just want to share is for a company called Zapier, which helps you connect all your different services and create easy workflows without having to write or interact with any APIs. This comment is from the r/drugs user community. This is seriously something you wouldn't expect. In this case, a Reddit user is talking about how he uses Zapier to track his time so that he can still enjoy using drugs, as long as he's making sure he's getting his other stuff done and prioritizing other areas in his life. Zapier is another case. You'd imagine that companies and businesses mainly use this product. You wouldn't think of these kinds of use cases, but clearly they're out there and they exist. So to summarize, in the beginning, you might have a rough, very broad list of customer segments. However, this analysis can help you find additional and specific, ideally niche customer segments. So I just handpicked a few, otherwise the actual data has many more examples and many different insights. So in Slack's case, you might start with obviously businesses, young people, people like lawyers who might constantly be in communication with their team or with clients. And then we found all these other specific kinds of groups we might not have thought of or even heard of, right? So, like Canadians who are interested in cryptocurrency and just quickly doing trades or buying and selling with each other. People who play Pokemon Go is probably something most people wouldn't think of, as well as ad agencies. In the case of Evernote, we found that there might actually be a very specific group of people who could really benefit from Evernote, even more so than everybody else, right? So people who suffer from ADD probably do need to write a lot of things down. And so a product like Evernote not only benefits them, but could also be designed with them in mind. Maybe a better job could be done, and it would really be improving and helping them out. The above examples, as well as this method, are interesting, but they aren't without their limitations. Probably the first criticism is just that these are bad customer segments. Not every niche is a good fit. For example, even if you made a new handmade version of Slack just for Pokemon Go enthusiasts, would that really be a viable business down the road? Does this niche have money and a willingness to pay? Maybe in Slack's case, they were better off just going after a general audience demographic like enterprise businesses, and maybe that's the best approach. Another criticism is that it's too specific of customer audiences. These are the audiences it suggests are too specific. By definition, you are going to be discovering communities you would have never thought or even heard of. These communities might even make you uncomfortable, depending upon what topics they're connected on. There's a lot of weird interests in people out there. You may also end up building your product for one community, but build something overall, which doesn't really generalize outward to other audiences. Another criticism is that it's not relevant to an initial product vision or brand idea values. This method may help you find niche audiences, but it can't guarantee they'll perfectly align with what you have in mind for your product use or your vision of your ideal customer segment. And it also goes without saying, finally, that this method may not be as useful for B2B products, but is more beneficial to consumer-facing ones like a general note-taking or chat application. I actually think this method is most useful for finding an initial niche customer base who intensely needs your product and using them as a means of eventually going fully to the mainstream. This might sound like an unusual approach, but I've read about many startups who got started this way. Discord started out as a Slack alternative, specifically targeting gamers, and has since succeeded from there. Twitch started out as a better YouTube, also for gamers, and sold to Amazon for $1 billion. Peter Thiel, who's a VC and an author, who's actually the one who started PayPal, talked about how he was struggling to find an audience at their company until they found sellers on eBay who were intensely using their product, PayPal, and they used that as a basis for their entire company. This was before eBay was as big as it is today. All of these companies captured these audiences while they were still niche, and the rest of society didn't necessarily see the value in them. From there, they were able to go mainstream. Peter Thiel is on record talking about this sort of phenomenon as well, right? So I'm paraphrasing here, but in the PayPal case, he talks about how, a lot of these companies start so small, and most people, even the people at the company themselves, don't see the value in going after these niche audiences when they get started. So in PayPal, he says it was terrible. We thought they were terrible customers to have. He's talking about the eBay sellers. It's just people selling junk on the internet. Why in the world would we want to be going after this market? And then later on, he says, that market was the ideal market, this niche market that nobody saw the value in because they were able to reach the market fully. And then he says, you've got some walk-in to brand recognition and you're able to build the business from there. I just want to touch on a couple ways that this research could be extended. So the first thing is just right now we're only looking for backlinks. I think this research could be extended to actually even identify any time a brand name is mentioned on Reddit, either in posts or comments. This could be tricky because many business names are just common words in the English language. I think the same approach could also be used to find suitable subreddits if you're looking to cross-post an article. So for example, you wrote an article, you might know one subreddit to post it in, but are there other ones which are related who might also like to check out your link? So it's useful for content marketing purposes. I also think this method could be extended to identify influencers within a subreddit community similar to Instagram. I already wrote the SQL code to do this in the past. For other reasons, I'm not sharing that today, but It's definitely doable. I've done it. This research could also be furthered, right? So I would love to see research around collaborating with niche Reddit communities and the co-creation of products with niche communities. So what I'm saying is, once you've used this method, you found a potential niche that is suitable to what you're trying to do, you think this could be it. I want to see further research around how you engage with the Reddit community, right? How you show them versions of the product, how you build something that they like, and how do you sort of relate to them without sounding too businessy, right? Relate to them on their level. I would also just love to see more research around actually understanding the psychographics of these niche communities, right? Right now, we're just looking at links, we're looking at qualitative sort of discussion, like posts or comments from these users. But is there a way that we can try to understand their psychology and what motivates them and their values? These kinds of psychographic indicators are often difficult to obtain or quantify, but it might actually be possible to analyze using the Reddit dataset and find out. Anyways, that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to support my work and see more videos, please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. You can also reach me to say hello via email, on my Instagram, or Twitter. Thanks so much for watching.